Hoops through life. Hoops through life.
Welcome to another episode of Hoops Through Life, a podcast where we discuss everything related to women's basketball player development, the collegiate recruiting process, and the transition from high school to college. I'm your host, Elsbeth Bierman. Our guest today is Coach Kate McCann. Kate started her coaching career as a graduate assistant at Springfield College, where over 2 years on staff, she helped the team notch 37 wins and one NCAA Division III tournament appearance. Kate just finished up her first year as an assistant at Bowdoin College, where the Polar Bears finished 25-3, advanced to the second round of the NCAA tournament, and finished the season ranked 11th in the final WBCA Women's Basketball Coaches Association poll. This year, she earned a spot on the WBCA's 30 under 30 team for the 25-26 season. The distinction celebrates not only on-court excellence, but also a coach's commitment to mentorship, community service, and their overall impact on student athletes. Kate, congratulations on the award and the season. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, so let's just jump into it. When you're watching a recruit play in an AAU or high school game, what's something that you look for as an indicator that the athlete can compete at the next level?
Yeah, I love watching recruits play, especially in live tournaments and stuff like that in the spring and summer. But something specifically that I look for is a consistent motor in when they're playing. Obviously, you know that basketball is a game of runs, and whether your team's going on a run or the opponent's going on a run, I really look at how the student athlete or the recruit is consistently playing throughout those runs. So if they're dragging their feet on defense or if their motor is consistently going all the time. On top of that, obviously looking at intangible things and being super observant in the recruiting process when you're watching a prospective student athlete. So are they coachable? Are they making eye contact with their coaches? Are they high-fiving their teammates? Some of those things that might not show up so much on a stat sheet, but definitely impact the game and the culture of your program and everything like that.
I love it. And what you said is kind of along the lines of what some other coaches have said in terms of like a motor or just like consistent effort, things like that. And I guess, and I imagine that the motor definition depends on where you're at, right? Like the style of play of the coach or the college that you're recruiting for. So for you all specifically, what does that motor mean? Like, is it constant go? Like, what does that mean for you all?
Yeah, I think definitely like flowing with how the game is going for sure. Obviously, if it's a fast-paced game, we want a recruit that's able to keep up and be effective with that tempo and style of play. We at Bowdoin College like to play super fast. We like to be the aggressors in every game that we play, so ensuring that the student athletes we're recruiting are going to be able to keep up with that tempo and also be effective in that while they're making good decisions and they're not physically fatigued, and that doesn't lead to like a mental fatigue or some lulls in their game. People who rebound, people who are in help side defense, like doing the little things, even though, you know, you're always tired when you're on the basketball court, but being able to push through that and stay locked in because you want to win and you want to do it for your teammates. And obviously you're not going to be perfect. Like there's always going to be recruits who are making mistakes and turnovers and things like that happen. And also watching how they respond to making those mistakes is something that we're super observant of as well.
Yeah. Is there anything that an athlete like in an AAU tournament or high school game might get away with that you think, ooh, they're not going to get away with that at the next level?
Ooh, yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, I've seen that. Like if they get subbed out, if they've had a couple of bad possessions in a row and there's no high fives, or they walk to the end of the bench and they're not engaged with what's going on the court, I'm just like, that's an automatic red flag for me. That seems very internal, very individualized, and kind of a selfish style of basketball, but very happy to recruit students who are, you know, totally bought into what's happening in the game and trying to make those around them better, not just focused on, oh, that's my turnover, like that's turnover on my stat sheet. No, it's like, that's our team's turnover. Let's figure out how to get better. Let's get this stopped defensively. One of my favorite things to watch for a recruit is like if they have a turnover or a bad shot and they just like start clapping and the next possession they like get a stop or make a great defensive play. Like those are things I love to see.
That mistake response piece, and whenever anybody talks about mistake response, I think of a conversation actually on this podcast that I had with a coach, and she even said, you know, I kind of wish that an athlete would not be, I don't want to say be bold enough, but I kind of wish an athlete would send a highlight film of like a mistake response sequence.
Yeah, I love that. That would be great.
Yeah, it's like that might feel vulnerable, that might feel weird, but the reality is if a coach is interested in you, they're going to see you make mistakes, right? Because they're going to see a full game, they're going to see how you are in different situations. So it's almost just like be proud of that fact, right? Like if you have one or two or three or whatever clips of mistake response, just put one in there and just see what happens. I don't know, that's what I think.
I love that. No, that's great advice. Yeah.
So go back to when you were an athlete going through the recruiting process. What did you think that you knew about the process that since you've been a coach, you realized you were really off base and you're like, oh, I really had no idea, if anything?
Ooh. Probably like the different levels in your specific division, and like you can only be recruited to a specific division if you play with this AU team or
Yeah, one thing, so for me actually, and I had this conversation with somebody else the other day, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like floating in the wind. Oh, if this person's interested or that person's interested. I really relied on the information given to me by my coaches. And one thing that I didn't even know that I didn't know was really just how, just like the basic workings of like an athletic department or a recruiting calendar, right? Like how at certain times of the year, certain things are more likely to happen. And I just heard the very basic things like, well, if you want to play at this level, you got to know by this time. If you want to play at this level, you got to know by this time. And I just didn't really have a lot of that information. So just the process, I guess, is what I'm trying to say in general, but that doesn't really make sense. But it really just the workings of a recruiting calendar. I just had no idea what that even meant or looked like and how it was actually important.
Yeah, same. To be honest, I was totally lost in the recruiting process. Like, I wish I knew what I know now back then. And nobody in my family played, like, collegiate sports or anything, so I didn't have a lot of, like, experience with that. My parents didn't know what the process looked like. But, yeah, I would say, like, I definitely not limited myself, but, like, was specifically focused on a major that I was super interested in, and, like, I didn't even end up going with that all 4 years. So I was like, I only want to go to schools that have this major, and I just feel like I put myself in a box at that point. And obviously, like, academics is super important, but your career is like not stuck to your major that you did for 4 years in college. So I wish I knew that.
I don't know what the statistic is now, but the last time I looked it up, it was like 60 to 70% or something like that of college students change their major at least once. I mean, that's a high percentage. And I do think, like, to that point of, I didn't even do my major. I think it's really rare for somebody to know exactly what they want to do when they're in the 12th grade, like 17, 18 years old, right? Like that, it's a lot of pressure to put on somebody to make a decision about the rest of their life, right? So, yeah, I would agree with that sentiment of just like, you might know an area that you might be interested in. It's like, oh, I like the sciences or I like the math. I think business is something that's interesting to me. And it's like more so look at the broad categories as opposed to like a very specific thing or field or whatever. Yeah, so, agreed. But that kind of leads perfectly into my next question, which is knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently in your recruiting process?
Reached out to more coaches or like visited more schools. I have 2 older sisters, so like they were visiting bigger schools, not specifically focused in college athletics. So I wish I visited more schools and like figured out what I wanted. But I loved Mount St. Mary College. Played basketball for all 4 years there. It was such a great experience. My head coach was awesome. All of my teammates, I love them so much. I'm still super close with them. So yeah, I think I wish I like looked at more places, just like had, I guess, cast a wider net, but was super happy with my decision ultimately and had a great experience for 4 years. So
yeah, and I find that generally it does kind of work out. Well, sometimes I'm glad it worked out like for you and very similarly to me too, right? Like I I feel the same. Like, that's what I would have done. I would have been very much so more proactive and about my communication with coaches and cast that wider net as well. And so, like, on the other side of that now, what are some ways that athletes can really, like, separate themselves or make connections with coaches, like, through an email, through a text, through a call? Like, how can they really separate themselves in terms of just, like, having you think about them more than maybe somebody else?
Yeah, I love this question. I feel like you can tell when somebody really wants to be somewhere, right? Like, you're able to see the difference between a super generic email where they just input coach's name, coach's college, and, like, there's no personal context at all. So I feel like going for what you really want and narrowing down what's important to you and, like, getting to know the school and the coaching staff and the program, those are all things that's super important and they stick out. Like, we receive a bunch of emails about prospective student athletes, but reading ones that, like, know about the past season or know about what majors, like, showing that you care. And I feel like that's super easy to pick out. And, like, I'll remember a student athlete who emailed us more often not than the ones who, like, weren't super personable, or the ones that I could tell were a chain email. And that's fine too. Like, you want to get exposure, you want to get your name out there to as many coaches as you can. But I think when you really want something that's super evident and, like, the passion comes through in emails and stuff like that, I also think filling out recruiting questionnaires is always a great path to go down, and attending as many camps as possible. Like, attending that specific college's elite camp is something that will help you get to know the team, the coaching staff, the culture around campus, all of that good stuff. But to wrap it all up, I would say, like, generic emails versus personal, like, in-depth, detailed emails is definitely something to get you a little bit more noticed by college coaches.
And when you say in-depth emails, personalized emails, what do you mean by that? Like, do you mean you need their whole life story? Like, what exactly do you mean when you say that?
Yeah, we definitely don't want their whole life story. And please, the emails, the shorter the better. Like, get to the point, but, like, just double check your spelling. Make sure that you don't have any, like, incorrect information in there about a past season. But, like, hey, Coach Kate, like, for example, like, I saw that you guys had a great season this year and you went to X round in the NCAA tournament, and you're graduating this person, and I'm so excited for your season next year. Like, the personal tie to the program is something that's super important to me, and, like, showing that you did your homework and that you care, and this isn't just, like, a random email that you're sending out and trying to see if college coaches are going to respond, but you actually have genuine interest in learning more about the program and talking with the coaching staff and all of that good stuff. But the life story definitely comes after on the phone call, which is great. We do want to hear that too, but yeah.
I love what you said about the shorter the better, because you can have a personalized touch in, like, 2 sentences. Like, exactly like you said, great season, or whatever it is, whatever connection you might have or whatever you might see on the website. And I always say, that goes a long way, right? Like you just said, I always remember those types of athletes, or maybe you're more inclined to open an email from them if you see them send you an email again, right? And that effort is maybe like 5-10 minutes of you just quickly researching the school. And also I'll say, because this has happened to me, maybe it's happened to you too, making sure you have the right name of the coach on the email, like, or the right school. Like, you can definitely tell when somebody's been copying, and I get it, you're busy and you're copying, pasting, like, a lot of the maybe non-personalized section of the email. But like you just said, double check, make sure it's the right school, make sure it's the right coach's name, because coaches get it, you're busy, but also it's helpful if that doesn't even come up. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, yeah, so actually, yeah, I love that you said, like, we want to know that information after, like, the life story after. So if you were to break down, like, the idea of communication and the timeline of communication, right? So, like, that, maybe that would be helpful for somebody. So, for example, you said in that first email, make it personalized, let us know why you might be interested. Maybe they're including some film in that, right? Like, reach out, that first initial contact, and then what are the steps after, and what information might you gather from those next steps?
In terms of, like, the timeline and the process. So definitely, throughout the entire recruiting process, evaluating the recruit or prospective student athlete at tournaments and live periods and all that stuff. But I think forming relationships with recruits is something that's super important to me all throughout the process. So that first email happens, we hop on the phone, we talk about your film, we talk about your family and what your interests are, and just kind of building that foundation of what the relationship is going to look like. And then constant communication is as much as possible. So we're sending out mailers, or we're sending emails or text messages or whatever that looks like. And then obviously figuring out like if they're a little bit younger, if they can visit campus, come to our elite camp, stuff like that, getting to meet them in person, so you're able to like assess body language and making sure that they like the campus and stuff like that. But definitely hopping on the phone as much as possible, staying in contact with them after tournaments and live periods, having them for an unofficial visit would be the next like official step after that. And I feel like at that point, if you're going to campus for an unofficial visit, that means that you're pretty high on that college's list, and I hope vice versa. But obviously being able to give student athletes the opportunity to visit multiple campuses is nice and help them figure out what they like. Because at the end of the day, like, all college coaches are just trying to make a positive experience for every student athlete, and showing them what the college is all about and having them meet student athletes and stuff like that. But I really love constant communication and just creating that relationship and making sure that like if you were going to choose to come to Bowdoin College for 4 years, like we're going to have a strong relationship from the start, and I want to get to know you and get to know your family and what your interests are, not only as a basketball player, but as a holistic person. And academics is super important here at Bowdoin, so that's probably number one on the list, which is great.
So that whole process that you just laid out, what is the general time frame for you all for like a recruit? Like, how long is that process generally from initial contact to commitment or coming onto campus for a like as a student?
It definitely depends, like how long we've been in contact, when we first were able to evaluate them in the live gameplay, but probably junior year, right? Early junior year, and then we like to have student athletes committed by senior year, early senior year. And just the way that our admissions process, like we align our commitments and offers and all that stuff with acceptances and athletic reviews and pre-reads. So completing pre-reads and athletic reviews July 1st or sometime in July, and then continuing the process with an unofficial visit in August or September with an offer and commitment not too late after that.
And that you're saying is in their senior year.
Right.
Yeah.
So like this summer going into their senior year. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I want to highlight about that is that this is a process, right? It's not like you saw them on a Thursday and by Saturday you're like, let's go. Like, are you in or are you out? That's not the process. It's like a relationship building thing. And I think that is sometimes what's really hard about this is because it's like so long of a process, but in some ways that's like the whole vetting process in and of itself, is to like get to really, like you said, get to know them, get to know their family, see them in multiple contexts on their high school team, on their AAU team, because they could be very different players on those teams, right? Yeah. They come to an elite camp, you see them in that context. Maybe they're on an official visit, and now they're spending time with your athletes, and there's like so many checkpoints that we have to go over. Is there anything that you would say is a checkpoint that I've maybe missed in that kind of summary?
No. I would just like to highlight too, like our current student athletes, the women in our program, are super heavily involved with our recruiting process, because obviously they're going to be teammates for 4 years, but they're going to be friends, best friends, hopefully for the rest of their lives. So making sure that it's a fit. And I feel like, I like that you touched on, like, I saw you on Thursday and then Saturday, like, yeah, let's do it. Like, that's a super red flag for me, because like, this is a big decision. So it's important that you understand, or a recruit understands, like, you want to find your fit just as much as we want to be the fit for you. But yeah.
What are some common, I don't want to say mistakes, but like maybe missteps or like misaligned expectations that a recruit might have in the recruiting process?
Yeah, I think specifically for our program, like in the NESCAC conference, academics is super important. So offering commitments before July 1st is illegal. So I feel like just doing your background and research as a recruit and like understanding what all schools have different timelines. Like our pre-read process happens on July 1st, but other conferences might happen September 1st of their junior year, whatever that looks like. So just really asking questions about like the process of everything is super important.
I think that's a really good point, and I think that speaks to the communication piece, right? Because if I'm in high school and I have 3 colleges that I'm interested in, maybe they're all Division III, right? And so, but maybe they have different calendars, like academic calendars, like you just said. And these 2 schools have offered me, but this school hasn't offered me. And you're like, what the heck's going on? Right? Like, speak a little bit about communication and what questions people should be asking, and maybe what they shouldn't, but maybe there's nothing off limits, right? Like, what's the communication? What should that be like throughout the process?
I think transparency is something that's super important. Like, we want recruits to be honest because as a coaching staff, we're going to be extremely direct about the process that we have in our admissions here at Bowdoin and what our timeline looks like. And we hope that recruits have, a general timeline that they're trying to stick to in their own heads. Also, having parents involved in the process is something that I love because they play a major part in their kid's life, in their child's life, in terms of financial aid and all that stuff. So having parents feeling comfortable enough to ask any sort of questions and understanding that we're going to give them a genuinely honest response. Like, we're not going to lead anybody a certain way, and we're all trying to help the student recruit achieve what they want to achieve and help them be successful as much as possible. But communication, I feel like there's really nothing off limits. I think ask as many questions as you possibly can. Like, knowledge is power. And then when you have all of the knowledge, then that ultimately helps you make a decision that is going to set you up for the rest of your life.
For sure. It's like, don't ever be afraid to ask, where am I on your list? Those hard questions. But I do always say, if you ask hard questions, be ready for hard answers. But in some ways, that's good because then, okay, you're not really that interested. I can focus my attention elsewhere. And more often than not, coaches are really upfront about where you're at because they don't want to have. Well, were you going to say something?
Sorry, no, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because it's not like, they don't want you to come under false pretenses and now you're like, what the heck, this is not what you said. Like, that's never a position that a coach wants to be in.
Yeah, agreed. I love when recruits will like text or email me after a tournament and ask for feedback directly on their games and like how they play and stuff like that. Because they feel comfortable enough to like take that feedback and hopefully implement it too into their next time they play. So yeah, I love that direct, honest communication.
All right, so if you think about the athletes that you have now on the roster and maybe think about their first semester at school, or I guess you could just think about last year in general, like, what are some skills that you had to kind of reteach, or you realize, oh wow, nobody has really highlighted this or that?
Ooh. Our first years are great. I love all of them. They had a very smooth transition from high school to college, and they really put the time and effort in to ensure they were going to be college ready. I would say in terms of like AAU and lower, not lower level, but like younger ages, I think something that is missing a little bit is effective cuts and like moving off the ball. Like, everyone is doing player development and training sessions with the ball in their hand, but like nobody is cutting to the rim or clearing out a weak side or something like that. That's just like having such a positive impact on the game. So I would say understanding like spatial awareness and what 3-side versus 2-side game looks like, and being able to move off the ball and have an impact. And, like if you're in transition and clearing out a side, like understanding that you basically just gave that person an assist because you sprinted hard. So yeah, I would say a little bit more stuff like without the basketball in your hand. And I think a lot of that comes from watching basketball and talking with your teammates about, hey, what's going to put you in the situation to be most successful? Understanding how you can still have an impact on the game without the rock in your hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that answer. And then, so speaking to your first years, now just done, right? I'm sure they're done. Now they're going
Yep,
into
they
their
just
second
finished.
year. What, you said they were really prepared, they put in the work. What types of things did they do to get them prepared for that first year?
A lot of relationship building with the other women in our program. Like, relationships is obviously number one for us, and that's something that's super important. And that doesn't just start when they get here, September 1 for their first year. Like, it starts in the recruiting process, and then in the summer leading up to that, and talking with each other about what workouts are they're going through and how they should be working out. Like, there's a big jump from when you're working out for high school and then working out for college, and at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know. So the biggest jump that our women make in the program is typically from their freshman to sophomore year, that summer, because they have all the tools and resources and knowledge necessary to like really elevate their game. But when you're a first year coming in, like, you're given the, resources and tools to work out, but sometimes you don't know how you should be working out. And I think I gave a lot of credit to our first years this past year. Like, they really worked hard and asked the right questions to the upperclasswomen. So they were able to come in and kind of hit the ground running, which I'm super excited for them to now be sophomores and really take another jump in their journey. And then on top of that, we have 5 first years coming in from all over the country. So super excited to see how they integrate into the team.
So when you say you feel like they asked the right questions to the older women on the team,
Yep.
What were maybe some of those questions that they asked? And I want to highlight again, and I love that you said this, is like they understood how to work out. Like, I think that's such a skill to be able to have, because I mean, I know when I was in my first year of college, I thought, I know what working hard is. Like, I went to a pretty good high school. Like, I know what this is. And then you see what other people are doing. You're like, oh, there's another level to this. And it's like, seeing that was eye-opening for me to say, oh, I need to do more, or I need to like do things a little bit differently, or just go a little bit harder, or whatever it is. So what kinds of questions would you say that they were asking? What did they kind of see? How did they emulate that?
Yeah. Probably ways to improve, like specific times or shooting numbers, or if they, competitions and stuff like that, whatever type of workouts they're doing in the summer. Asking the upperclasswomen, like, how should I be doing this? What does this look like for you? How long does this take you? How are you so good at this? Is it because you've been doing it for 4 years, or is it because you got a little secret up there,
A bag of tricks.
Yeah. But I think, I totally agree with you. Like, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So trying to be the best that you can be on the court, off the court, whatever that looks like. Also, it's such an advantage to be able to work out with collegiate athletes when you're in high school, because, like I said before, you don't know what you don't know. And when you see someone work a specific way and you're not working that way, it's like, wow, that's why that person excels at everything they do, because that's the work ethic and the commitment and the sacrifice that they do, when no one's watching, or in the off season and stuff like that. But super excited overall and very proud of all the first years.
And I give them a ton of credit, because there have been times that I talk to athletes and I'm like, okay, this person in your position blocks you every single time. Have you ever thought to ask them, how come you're blocking my shot? Right? Like,
Yes.
that, it's like, that's the cheat code. That's the bag of tricks, is to just go to the person who is doing the thing to you, right? So I love the examples that you gave, and I give your first years a ton of credit, because for them to go up to somebody and say, how long does this like shooting thing generally take? Let's say you're shooting for 3 minutes. Well, how many makes are you making in 3 minutes, right? Like, and trying to give yourself a little bit of a goal, but also if you see somebody who's doing something better than you, or in a way that you want to do it, just ask them how they're doing it, and they'll either tell you. If they can't articulate it, then you try to observe them, watch what they're doing, and then try to do that, or do it with them. And then it's like, and those types of things can go a long way, right? Like you said, generally that jump from the first to the second year is huge, because you know what the expectations are and you've lived in that environment. So it's like, oh, now you know how to maximize the environment. But if you can like get to that place early, you can really, that first year can really be a big year for you, I think.
Yep, I agree. And on the flip side of that too, like, if somebody's blocking you X amount of times, if somebody's not blocking you, like, hey, you need to try to block me to make me better, or whatever that looks like. And being able to like hold your teammates accountable is something that's super important for us here too.
I love that. Now I like want to meet all of them and be like,
they're amazing. Yeah. I'm so serious. They're so great. We have senior week this week, but the rest of them are all home, and I already miss them so much. So
yeah, now it's like a quiet time around the office. I'm sure not a lot of noise or people coming in.
No, a lot of admin work.
Yeah. All right. So I have a last couple of questions that I generally ask all the guests. What book or podcast would you recommend every incoming first year read before the first season begins, and why?
Yes. I feel like this is going to be super cliche, but Chop Wood, Carry Water. I just feel like it is such a great book, and like we talked about a little bit earlier, like this is a process, right? And you're a first year going to somewhere for 4 years, so I think Chop Wood, Carry Water really emphasizes like falling in love with the process and the journey over the destination, and understanding that the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So Chop Wood, Carry Water. I think it's Joshua Metcalf. I could be wrong with that, but
no, I think that's right. And yeah,
and this podcast too. You should listen to every single one of these podcasts. Obviously, that should have been my first choice.
It's okay.
Not this one specifically, like your podcast.
No, this one specifically.
No, don't.
Rewind, listen to it again. But yeah, and you're not the first coach to mention that book. So it's like that feels like a staple that a lot of teams use. Do you all do like reading over the summer or reading over the year? Do you all do any of that type of stuff?
Yes, we have a book club. Typically happens in September, but every single person in our program reads it, and then we have like a discussion about it and pros, cons, positive, negatives, all that good stuff, which I love. I just feel like it's such an advantage to have that.
Mm-hmm. Do you already have the book picked out for this year?
We're working on it.
What was the book last year?
Inner Excellence.
What would you say is a big takeaway from that one?
Mindset and like understanding the way to do things. There were a lot of prompts in that, so like reflection, making sure that you're leading yourself before you lead others, and being excellent within yourself first, and then eventually that will add up and that will make our team excellent, if everyone's excellent.
Awesome. Yeah, you have to focus on yourself first. All right, if you could snap your fingers and change one thing about the recruiting process, what would it be and why?
More chairs at recruiting events.
So purely selfish from a coaching perspective. Yeah.
No, I would say I think everyone should be as honest and transparent as possible, and if they're not, they should be penalized. I don't know how that would be tracked, but I think that's something that's super important. Like, at the end of the day, we're all trying to help student athletes be successful, and we want them to succeed, whether that's at your specific program or not. Like, we're all people. We're all human beings at the end of the day, and helping them achieve their goals is something that's super important to me, so if that could be across the board, I would love that. On top of that, I think like when recruits typically send emails, it's like their name, their intro and stuff like that, and they're always sending their film. I would say something that should be normalized on top of that is sending transcripts. That's it.
Yeah, especially for institutions that have really rigorous academic standards, that is super important, because I'm sure if you were to look at a transcript, you would already know if that athlete could come and play or not. And so it just saves a lot of time.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. All right, cool. And then what about and you might not have an answer for this, and that's okay. What type of subject line piques your interest? 5'10"
guard. No, I'm just kidding. 5'10" guard.
6'3" guard, 4.0, all AP classes.
All APs, can defend at 3 levels, can score 42% from 3. Yeah. Maybe some stats. No, I don't think so. Just like prospective student athlete, maybe their name, and nothing too crazy. I'm gonna read all emails, so it doesn't really matter what the subject line is.
Okay, perfect. All right. If anybody wants to keep up with you, this, now you have me paranoid. We talked before about how I kept calling it just Bowdoin because that was funny to me. But yeah, if anybody wants to keep up with Bowdoin or you, where can they do that? Or learn more about your program, all of that stuff.
Yeah, for you can always reach us by email. Our website, our Instagram is Bowdoin WBB. You can reach us on there. We have an elite camp August 2nd if you're interested in attending that. That's also linked in our Instagram bio. We'd love to have prospective student athletes attend that, get to know us a little bit more, see our campus, our beautiful gym, and interact with the amazing women in our program too.
All right, awesome. All right, well, Kate, I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening. If you aren't already, I would highly recommend subscribing to the podcast so you can get updated once new episodes are dropped. If you're a fan of the show, go ahead and leave a review. It really helps spread the word to more athletes, parents, and coaches. Now, if you have any questions for myself or future guests, feedback, or you're curious on how we can work together to help you reach your basketball goals, let's have a conversation. Feel free to email me at l@hoopsthroughlife.com today to set that up. That's EL@HOOPSTHROUGHLIFE.com. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.